Kane, like 10 years from now, we're going to be kicking ourselves in the ass. You're going to see the Energizer Bunny on TV with like a cane and a walker
Yeah.
because the world ran out of lithium and China has it all. So, um, it's this is like a when this happened, the first thing I started Googling was like what minerals and what did Afghanistan have for oil reserves? Because that's the first thing out of anybody's mouth. Um, Especially those people. I'll put myself in that bucket. Like I'm not following like what each country has in terms of like value of minerals.
Yeah.
But if it's anywhere near the Middle East, the first thing someone's gonna say, we're there for the oil. And it's like I don't doubt that, Kane. But there's also a whole bunch of other shit going on that we just don't ever know. It ends up in a book like 40 years later. So,
Yeah.
but I was curious because I knew those things were going to be said that we were there for the oil. We spent $2.6 trillion in this war for oil and blah blah blah. It's like, well, now I'm curious because I know these conversations are going to come up. And then I saw they only have like 100 billion in oil estimated, but then they
Mhm.
had trillions of dollars of like lithium and cobalt and all this other stuff. And I was talking to someone this weekend about that, and it's like, well, lithium. What are they going to do with all that? And I'm like, that's batteries.
Mhm.
That's your. I think Tesla's. Don't quote me on this because I don't follow this shit. I think Tesla said they were going to stop using cobalt in their batteries, but it's definitely one of those minerals that is kindly like highly sought after that you do use in those types of applications, and maybe who knows what future applications. We know lithium's a major component, and I think China also sits on some other minerals that the rest of the world needs, and I don't have those off the top of my head because that's not really my thing. But that's what the story here is. You start thinking about like, well, again, conversation this weekend. People don't realize Afghanistan shares a border with China.
Right.
Uh, Crack open your Google map and then zoom the fuck in. Not a big border, Kane, but just enough to say, hey, friend, do you need something? It's like going next door. Can I borrow a cup of sugar?
Yeah.
Um, and this is like some very complicated 3D chess shit that's going to go on that we don't know what's going to happen. I got to imagine China's going to go in. They're going to make friends with the Taliban. We're over here saying that we're not going to give the Taliban certain things unless they treat women great and all that stuff. And then if the Taliban says F you, then China can just say, hey, friend, we got this border here. You need something? Need a cup of sugar? We need some lithium. So very complicated in that sense. I think we were worried about terrorism and all this stuff, and you don't realize that this might have just gave some of our opponents some advantages, especially when we're trying to go electric everything. Like that's our thing, right? Electric's going to save the world, and until we poison the earth with batteries. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Mhm.
Um, where's is China in a long play right now? And like the people that don't like is Russia, Iran, China, North Korea. They're all licking their chops right now. Like how can I benefit from this? And it didn't take China long, right? It was like 2 days after
Right.
you already started to see them kind of muscle in, and who knows, like 100 years from now, what we're going to be fighting over. I think fresh water is going to be part of like one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but what all these crazy rare minerals that we need to create the new technologies, that's probably going to end up being more important than oil. I remember a conversation a long time ago. It's like, oh, what's going to happen when we run out of oil? We're not going to be able to drive our cars. I'm like, you can make fuel out of corn, which we've done. Like that's our
Mhm.
fuel's part ethanol, right? Came way back. You used to be able to run an engine off of the smoke from a wood fire. They're going to find ways to manufacture shit for your gasoline engine to run, right?
Yeah.
But did we think about like what happens when we need all this stuff to put in semiconductors and things to make medical equipment? There's a lot of like rare things in this world we need for these high tech components. Did we just hand China a whole bunch of that stuff?
Well, I remember at the start of the pandemic, James, and we were concerned because China had a lot of the raw materials for like a lot of the pharmaceuticals that we need here in the States. Like this seems to, like you said, it goes across industries and it goes across different aspects of our lives that I think we take for granted.
Yeah, there was an article someone sent me, or maybe they told me in person. I don't know, but a lot of our look, man, a lot of our chemicals aren't here. We don't do those big batch chemicals here, the raw materials to make the pharmaceuticals, but to treat our water, for example. There was a concern at some point that there's going to be a supply chain shortage of the chemicals we use to treat our water supply. So imagine that just gets cut off and your tap is no longer pumping out drinkable water.
My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how, as a world, we are so tightly woven together and kind of dependent upon everybody else. That's like one thing that probably keeps us from complete world war right now is from that aspect of it, we're just no longer independent anywhere. I think we would have to get that way really quick if the shit ever hit the fan. But what do you do if you just don't have the mineral to do it?
Yeah.
That's concerning a tiny bit. So I'm not sure this is about oil. It's hard to say. Why did we spend 2.6 trillion, Kane? I'm not sure anyone in their right mind has an answer to that anymore.
Mhm.
But it's the government. They can just print money whenever they want. Come to find out, we've proven that with the war. We've proven that last year with the pandemic. And what did we get? We don't know. But at the end of it, what we ended up doing is probably making China a little stronger, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah, so this is a big question, and we probably need a bigger boat. But do you feel like over time, at least here in the West, like we're getting a little less strategic and a little bit too tactical? So we're like responding to things all the time, and when you see headlines like this, I mean, I'm not trying to be too pro China, but they seem to have their eye on the overarching strategy, right? How do we expand the pie? Like, where's this headline from us, so to speak?
I mean, it's probably not ever going to be written in the U.S. Um,
Well, that's true. That's a good point.
you can't it's a lot of people I know that came here from other countries. They don't even listen to U.S. news. They go back to their home country and they try to get their news from it because they're like, I can't even get the real news here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, so even if we did have this headline, Kane, you probably wouldn't even read it here. You'd have to go to the BBC or something to try to get the real story, which is mind blowing when you think about it.
Right.
But this is depending if you're a hawk or you're a dove, and what's your thoughts on policy and the world, and if you're a warmonger, if you're for peace. There's a lot of people that are warmongers, right? They just want to fight all the time. They want the forever wars. People get rich. Military gets rich. Suppliers to the military get rich. Everyone gets rich on that side of the coin when there's wars. You're manufacturing wealth at that point.
Yeah.
The opposite side is no wars, peace and all this stuff. And the problem is China's not thinking that way, you see. And Russia's not thinking that way, and Iran, and not everyone's trying to get along. So I do believe that we are. A lot of times, I think America is really consumed by shit. Then the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. We get consumed by it. And China, one step at a time, continues to stay very methodical on whatever plan they're trying to execute. South China Sea, I think it is. I don't know if that's even the right name of it. Mm-hmm. What they've done down there to try to assert their dominance. They keep trying to gain a little more power, but at least maintain theirs. And I think we keep finding ways to fuck ours up. I'm not naive to think that the rest of the world wants to play nice. Does Sweden? Probably, right? Am I worried about Canada trying to come take us? No. But are there other hostile actors out there that are power hungry, that are trying to get more? Yeah, Canada never goes away.
Yeah.
And I do think we are in that reactionary mode where I think we keep reacting to shit. So one of those things. I think as a country, we used to always walk around with our hands up and be ready to scrap, and I don't know if I feel that way right now.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like, I don't know. You don't need to be the bully on the block. There's always starting fights. But it's one of those things that if you don't show your strength, there's another bully that comes along. And then they start pushing you around. They start taking your shit.
Yeah.
Give me your fucking lunch money, chump. I don't want to give my lunch money up. I want some tacos.
It is almost lunchtime.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what the ramifications of all this is 5 years from now. It was, an interesting perspective. It's hard having conversations sometimes with people who didn't like live through things. We talk about this often. If you didn't live through 9/11, just because you read about it in a book doesn't mean you know about it.
Yeah.
If you didn't live through 2008 and you read about it, or if you lived through it as a child, you don't really understand it. I think the average 20-year-old right now in Afghanistan doesn't remember what it's like to live under the Taliban.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you kind of worry for those people because their sense of reality was a little bit more free. And I'm not sure they fully understand what's coming. I think that's what you realize. I look at my own stuff from the time you're like 20 to the time you're like 35, right? Going on to 40. How much different you think if you experience so much stuff. And like reading it in a book doesn't do it any justice. One of those things is I can read a book about the Louvre all day long and then go walk around that place for a week. Not see.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many things going on right now that I just don't think we fully comprehend. I think a large part of Afghanistan doesn't comprehend because they never lived through the Taliban. And then you got China muscling in, how that's going to affect things. You know, we say we're going to probably like sanction Afghanistan if the Taliban doesn't treat people right. Well, that's going to hurt the citizens. And again, China's going to come on through. Need a cup of sugar, neighbor? There's a lot of like levels to this shit that we are not thinking about. I think some people just want to get the hell out and not think about it ever again. Not realizing that this is probably going to affect us somewhere down the line. When someone's trying to mine that last 100 tons of lithium, we might sit back and say, "Ooh, Afghanistan."
Right.
Crazy stuff, though. Who would have thought that they were sitting on $3 trillion in minerals?
Oh my goodness, that blew my mind.
It sounds like it's all deep in the mountains. It's not going to be easy to get out, but okay, when it comes down to it, when it's time to get it, they're going to find a way to go get it. Well, when you need this stuff to create the new medical device or something, they're going to find a way to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to have some robot that's going to go dig it down and get the shit. And then, not that we can sit around and go. The thing is, like, people will say, "What are you going to do? Just go around beating up every country to go rob them of all their minerals?" I think that's not. I don't think that's what people are saying. It's a thought of if I'm a local restaurant and there's a local farm that's got really good produce, I can go down to that farm and say, "Sell me all your shit exclusively."
Yeah.
Like I want all your corn, I want all your green beans, I want all your asparagus. Don't sell nobody else. Let's come up with a deal. Did we have that in Afghanistan? Well, we can now because the Taliban took over. But
right,
it's could we have like? I think in the United States, you could buy land and someone else can have the mineral rights to your property underneath your land, for example. Could we have bought the mineral rights in Afghanistan and kind of kept that out of China's hands? But if the Taliban comes in and takes shit over, then I guess those agreements wouldn't even matter. I don't know. This is way over my fucking head. I don't think we got to go country to country, like bombing them and blowing shit up to get their oil, to get their minerals. But could you work with them to get exclusive deals? Them, make that country have an export to get them more money to lift them out of poverty, for example. The same way the local place down here will go down to the local farmer and buy up all of his corn. It's
yep.
China did not waste any time to go in and do that, I bet. It sounds like China was already talking to Taliban day too. Like, hey, friend, I see you got some ice cream. Do you need a sugar cone? I got sugar cones over here.
Just mind blowing.
Yeah, man, maybe I'll get Cold Stone for lunch. I'm gonna get ice cream for lunch.
Oh, dear.
Like Cold Stone. I don't even want the fucking ice cream. I just like the waffle bowl. Can you just sell me the fucking waffle bowl? I'll be happy. But it's lunchtime.
Lunchtime.
Anyways, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the world doesn't need more lithium.
Yeah, we'll see.
We shall find out. All right, I'm gonna catch you.
Thanks.